So good evening to everyone present here. My patient is a case of low motor neuron facial palsy with traumatic optic neuropathy. So my case will be discussed under the following headings. So my patient is a 31-year-old IT professional who presented with complaints of difficulty in closing the left eye with blurring of vision in the same eye for the past 2 weeks. So the patient was apparently normal, after which he encountered a road traffic accident while traveling on his bike in the early hours of the morning. He has actually no recollection of the incidents leading to the accident. According to his informant, he was found unconscious on the side of the road and was taken to a multi-specialty hospital for further management. So he was found to have sustained multiple injuries to the head, face and abdomen, and also to the left arm. And he underwent abdominal and facial surgery on the same day. And for the left arm, he was treated with a POP cast, and he was unconscious for up to 1 day after the accident. So following recovery of his conscious, he found that he had difficulty in closing the left eye associated with increased watering in that eye, for which he was prescribed eye drops. And he also noticed that there was blurring of vision in the same eye a few days later, and it was not associated with pain, redness or discharge in that eye. There was no associated deviation of the eye or double vision, and no history of fever, hearing difficulties or weakness of the other limbs. So he had no significant optical history, and his systemic history was normal. So general examination, he was found to be normal. He had normal vitals. So central nervous system examination, his higher mental functions were normal. Other cranial nerves were normal. 2 to 7 will be examined. Motor, sensory and cerebral signs were normal. Systemic examination was normal. He had an abdominal surgical scar. So in this patient, his head posture is normal. He had a contusion and a linear scar over the left side of his face. There was absent wrinkling of his left forehead. Left brow was a slightly lower level in comparison to the right, and there was slight narrowing of the left palpebral fissure. So lag of thalamus of the left eye was seen along with Bell's phenomenon. An obliteration of the left nasolabial fold was seen. He had deviation of angle of the mouth to the right side on baring of his teeth and inability to puff the left cheek. So his Hirschberg corneal reflex was centered in both the eyes. Cover test was orthophoric and extraocular movements were normal. So visual acuity was 6.6 in the right eye, and the left eye he had 6.9, which was not improving. He had no refractive errors on retinoscopy. His color vision was normal in both the eyes, and his intraocular pressure was also normal. So the right eye examination was normal, just that the pupil was sluggishly reactive to consensual light reflex. And the fundus of the right eye was also normal. So coming to the left eye, he had a small subconjunctival hemorrhage. His cornea was clear and with intact corneal sensation. There was no epithelial defects on staining with fluorescent. Anterior chamber and iris were normal. Pupil was sluggishly reactive to both direct light and briskly reactive to consensual. And on swinging torchlight test, he had a grade 1 RAPD. So the left eye fundus showed disc pallor over the temporal quadrant. His vessels, background and macula was normal. So based on this, a provisional diagnosis of left low motor neuron type of facial palsy with traumatic optic neuropathy was derived. We did a visual field on his left eye which showed a superior hemifield defect. The right eye was normal. Neuroimaging revealed thickening of the optic nerve suggestive of traumatic left optic neuropathy.
Thank you for the case. Dr. Sai, I would like to ask, what was the exact site of fractures the patient had? Because we have not seen the CT images before the surgery at the time of trauma.
So basically, when the patient came to me, he was post-surgery. So they have already done surgery on his facial fractures. He had multiple maxilla, ethmoid sinus, and orbital floor fractures, all of which were repaired when he came to us.
Okay, so you didn't have the CT pictures?
No, just that he had the CT picture pre-op and post-op. So post-op, everything was fixed basically. The orbital floor fracture was operated on, and
so actually those pictures could have added more information.
He did not have the pictures. It was
okay. He didn't have the films.
He didn't have the films. He just had the report. So I was not able to get it.
Okay. So how do you explain the presence of facial nerve palsy in this patient?
He had a very gross maxillary fracture. So the probable site of the involvement of the seventh nerve will be about its exit in the xylomastoid foramen. That is what we are suspecting.
Okay, and why was there a traumatic optic neuropathy then?
My probable guess is it's an indirect traumatic optic neuropathy, just that the force of the fracture would have caused a shear stress on the optic nerve, and that would have caused the optic neuropathy.
And then what was the management that was done for this patient? Because the last CT image that you showed us,
Yeah.
it was showing a grossly
Thickened.
enlarged optic nerve.
Yeah, so he was referred back to his neurophysician, and he was started on steroid therapy. He's doing pretty well now.
Okay, I think for starting steroids, you could yourself
Yeah,
have started
yeah,
him.
yeah. No, he was already on steroid therapy when he came to us. They just referred him for his cornea workup.
Okay.
So we just had to take a look at the cornea.
So what is his, did he come for follow-up? What was his final visual acuity?
His final visual acuity is still 6.9. It's just been a month since he last came to us, so we are waiting for the vision to improve.
Okay, so I think, okay, thank you for
Yes.
answering. Sir, do you want to ask more?
No, the most important thing in optic neuritis you look for is red color desaturation.
Yes,
That's the first thing you look for.
yes.
Now, simplest way to do it in outpatients
Bottle caps.
is timolol usually has red
Yes,
top,
sir. Yes, sir.
correct?
Eye drop bottle caps.
Eye drop. So you ask the patient to first look at the top of the timolol drop with the normal eye, and suddenly change it to the abnormal eye and ask if the color remains the same or there is a difference in the saturation of the color. 99% of the patients will be able to identify the desaturation. So the red seed desaturation, you don't need to go and look for Ishihara charts. It may not be available here and there and things like that. Simple clinical test is to look for the thing is they should know what is normal. Therefore, you cover the abnormal eye and ask them to see with the normal eye, the red top. And then quickly switch over to the abnormal eye. When the brain remembers the degree of redness with the normal eye. Then they notice the difference in the saturation of the color. That proves immediately to you there is a red desaturation which is very typical of optic neuritis of any cause. That's very typically seen in all cases of optic neuritis. Am I right?
One
Yes, definitely.
see. So, was any other therapy given to him along not only steroids or anything else was taken care of?
We have already advised him about taping, and we have given him lubricants. Facial massage was already initiated. The facial physiotherapy was already initiated at the primary healthcare center. Other than that, nothing much.
So
Okay.
basically, my suggestion for the postgraduates is for the case presentation, and if you are planning to report any case, I think you should have a very good documentation of the case. I know that you know, okay, the person who is presenting knows, but the person who is listening, I think to make it more informative for them, more pictures should be there of the initial presentation, imaging pictures, especially in these type of cases. They help to teach and to learn.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and increases the chances of acceptance also if you are planning to publish. Okay, thank you.